Hey, everybody, welcome back to the ChatGTM podcast. This is Michael Beck and Chad Horn reporting live here from the Prosper Accelerate Conference in Dallas, Texas. We are fortunate and blessed to be joined by another amazing guest and public speaker who joined us on stage on day one, Miss Ashley Robinson. Whoop. Ashley, good morning, good afternoon. What time is it?
I don't know anymore.
Still morning. It's still morning.
What day is it? I mean, this has been a long
Where
week.
am I?
This might be our last conversation of
This
the show.
could be.
We don't know.
Save the best for last?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I like your style. I love it. So, Ashley, well, first, thank you. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I said it's a long week, but
Yeah.
it was worth it. I don't go somewhere for a week for nothing. This conference has been great. Great content. They're just really
She was part of the
professional.
content.
Well, besides mine, I appreciate the bias. Of course, we think we bring great content, but it was really fun. You know,
Yeah.
a seeker means being a lifelong learner. So
Yes.
I told my team, we need to live our brand. We're not just here to produce content. We are here to receive content, receive learning,
Yes.
appreciate what other people are bringing to the table.
Change
And
some
it was really
lives.
fun. I mean,
We do it right.
one question at a time.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, Ashley, let's just kind of drill in right away before we go into the show and other things. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay.
What you guys do, who you do it for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Seeker Group is a consulting firm for brick and mortar businesses. I tell people, think about Bain or McKinsey, but affordable.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And for those restaurateurs, understand that, you know, restaurant
Yeah.
budgets, retailers, brick and mortar, they don't have $5 million to drop on a business question.
Yeah.
And
Are we talking
often-
independence?
independent operators.
Okay.
So we work with some of the largest companies in the world. Toradol is one of the largest food providers in Japan. They've been
Wow.
a client of ours for many years as they're trying to roll out their U.S. concept of Marigame. We worked with some of the largest jewelry company in the world, is Pandora Jewelry. So not
Impressive.
just with restaurants, but also with retailers. And I also love working with independents. So Bakari Restaurant Group out of Los Angeles. They had 5 restaurants when they started working with us. And these are 2 phenomenal restaurant operators and a chef. The 3 of them make a great partnership.
Yeah.
And they're like anti-data, right? Like, oh, we don't need consultants. We really know our business. And I said, well, tell me about what makes you successful. Tell me about your customer. And they listed off all of these great qualities about their brand and their consumer. And I said to them, you just gave me 20 data points that I can now measure in new markets that you don't know outside of Los Angeles to help me make good decisions. So that sort of tells you a little bit what we do is we want to take the brilliance of this hospitality industry, the art side of the business that is so important,
Yeah.
and then support it with great data that helps for smart decision making, underwriting, you know, financial commitments and needs from our financial partners to help grow these brands.
Marrying the art with the science.
That's right.
Absolutely
Yep.
love it. Chad, take us
So this week you said the words decision science.
Yes.
Break that down a
What
little
the
more.
heck does that mean?
What does it mean, and where do practically should an individual or a company apply it?
Yes, I mean, it is, you know, we've been here, like I said, all week, and we have heard so many people come up to us and say, why is this not everywhere? Every one of us makes decisions. I mean, you make personal decisions from the moment you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Should I wake up or should I hit snooze, right?
I was asking myself this morning.
Yeah, I did snooze a couple times. So we have personal decisions, but then we have, I think, the harder professional decisions where we have to think cross-functionally. We have to think about our company's mission. We have to think about consequences, and yet it is not taught anywhere.
Right.
We have these assumptions that experienced leaders make good decisions. I'm
Right.
here to tell you that is not always the case. I had the unfortunate pleasure of working and learning from some concepts that did fail. I didn't want to see these concepts fail.
Neither did they.
But we have a 90% failure rate in the restaurant industry. And that happens oftentimes because experienced leaders are leaning on their what we call champion bias or that, hey, I did this there,
Yeah.
therefore it will work here.
Or our food's so good, it will just carry us.
Exactly. I mean, we
right?
can go on and on. That's a whole nother podcast. It's
Yeah.
like the biases. But coming back to your question, I spent 20 years trying to figure out why do 90% of concepts fail in the first 3 years. And I was sitting in a room with data scientists. At this time, I was working at a data science company. And what occurred to me was the smartest person in the room didn't have one answer, but he did ask all the right questions.
Okay.
And it was a data scientist, and I went, this is what we've been missing. This is what our industry is missing.
The right questions?
Is the curiosity. It's asking the right questions.
Yeah.
You know, especially I think the hospitality industry, you think you need to come in with conviction and courage. And I had a great time with Dr. Pogue talking about courage and curiosity.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you know, conviction is important, confidence is important, but we've really lacked a structure to apply curiosity to really make smart decisions. So the decision science means creating a framework that takes your emotions out of it, takes hopefully your biases away from it, and makes it objective, where then data becomes really useful, and you align your teams around the decision.
That makes sense. And it seems like a lot of these people are running these businesses with their limbic brain, right? Their gut is telling them. It's
Yes.
not, that while it is helpful, is it anchored to the data, the things that really tell you, are you profitable? Are you in the right place? Are you addressing the right customer?
Right.
And when you mentioned that failure rate of 90%, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Within 3 years
What's the attribution? Like, what are some commonalities there?
of the failures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is, well, okay, I'm not going to plug our software, but our software was built to solve the commonalities that I was seeing.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when restaurants are growing, they're usually starting in one state. And we understand, anyone who works nationally understands, the variables from state to state are really wide.
Yes.
So you remember my talk on Tuesday, we said, when do you use your gut? You know, what is an appropriate time to use your intuition? Well, it has to be, two things need to be true. You need to be in a situation that does not have variability, and you need to be doing it long enough to really build a trust your experience. So the firefighter captain was the,
Yes, that was a
the
great-
example
that was
we
a
used,
great
right?
analogy, great
If you are a
analogy.
fire captain and you've been in 100 fires and something feels wrong, trust your gut, trust your intuition.
Right.
For us restaurateurs in this hospitality industry, you might know the market that you're in, but there are hundreds, or if not thousands, of variables in the
Right.
markets you're not in. So
Right.
many blind spots, right? So that is not a time to trust your gut.
Right.
And what we found, and my real estate background was, we saw real estate execution teams were just using occupancy costs, right? So they were saying, well, we want to grow. Do we want to go to Denver? Or should we go to Texas? Like, I don't know. Let's hire a broker. Brokers are free.
Yep.
And the brokers are bringing you real estate costs.
But they're not talking about traffic patterns around it, where people live.
Well,
locally, or are they?
there's some real estate people are.
Okay.
But they're looking through the lens of 8%. So occupancy costs are typically 8% of a P&L, right? Ideally, you want
Sure.
your restaurant costs to stay below 8%. So now you have your real estate team saying, oh, this rent in Denver, you know, maybe is cheaper than this rent in Texas.
Okay.
So would you make a decision off of 8% of the data points? Of course not,
No, you're missing
right?
a big part of the picture.
A huge
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
So we want to measure the sales drivers and cost drivers, like the recipe to EBITDA. That's what we're all here to
Yeah.
solve for, right?
Yes,
We want to
yes.
solve for profitability,
Yes.
not just sales. So we should look at, is our customer there? We should look at, how many restaurants can we build? Can we
Yeah.
drive our efficiencies? If we need 3 restaurants to really drive efficiencies on
Yeah.
marketing and labor, but we only have enough population to build 2, should we even go there?
What about menu appealing to demographic?
What about that,
Yeah.
right? What about construction costs? What about labor costs? The back of house labor costs, market to market, is very vast. So you need to ask yourself what the effective wage is, not the minimum wage. Who cares? No one pays minimum wage anymore.
Right, right.
What's the effective wage? So one of the, back to your question, why do concepts fail? They don't know what they don't know, and they're trusting their gut and their intuition. Well, we are so successful here, surely we will be so successful in these other markets,
Right.
without acknowledging that's the hometown hero effect, my friend.
Yeah.
Right? Of course you're successful there, but you have to be able to measure the knowns and the unknowns
Yeah.
in those other markets before you go invest,
Well, you also
$3
mentioned
million.
you'd spent some time in LA, and there's that O2 common tale of the celebrity that decides to open the restaurant, and then
yes.
it just collapses because
yes.
the celebrity only carries them so far.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
When people work with you, is it when they're established and they're trying to fix something, or should it be before we even put pen to paper? As we're putting pen to paper, we got that blank sheet. It sounds like that's when they should really engage.
I mean, that's my preference. I would love to work with people early on and help guide them to make the right decisions, be able to forecast. I talked today in our panel about a pre-mortem. Right? Like, I'm great at doing post-mortem and telling you why something died.
I love
I would
that.
rather do a pre-mortem before you make that investment right? Help underwrite that investment to say, here's all the things you need to look out for. Let's make sure that you're measuring for the brand. That's the other thing that we do that I think concepts make mistakes on. Is if you listen to your private equity partners, if you listen to strictly data, you will tend to make decisions on the cheapest option.
Sure.
You can't build a brand that way.
No, you can't.
Right?
It's a rush to the bottom, right?
Right. It's a race to the bottom. So we need to put numbers to those brand-driven decisions to help you build your brand the right way. And we have some great examples about that I've talked about in the past. If you look at, Sweet Green and how they built their brand, or Lululemon, or any concept that has outsized valuations is making decisions for their brand. But those feel subjective unless you can make them objective.
Codify it, right?
Yes. Why. And that is, again, what we do is we help you make those objective.
So you're a consulting agency.
Yes.
But you also do have a solution that you offer as well, right?
Lots of solution tools.
But there's software in here,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And what's does it have a name?
It's Seeker Systems.
Seeker Systems is a software.
Seeker Systems. We have our MVP.
Okay.
It allows people to make markets and prioritize market decisions, and also prioritize site decisions. And then we have a lot of tactical tools as well around decision making for companies, where essentially it helps you to ask the right question, measure the right inputs, check on the bias. Sometimes bias is good. We just talked about building your brand.
Right.
If a bias is, should you make this decision to build your brand for your entry level site, or should you go here because it's cheaper? Well, your bias should go towards what's best for the brand, right?
Right.
So the bias is actually a calculation in our model. And then it spits out actual numbers to help you make those decisions. So I talked today, like, decision should be a lag input, not a lead. If you're making the right decision, it is clear because you put in all this work.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right?
Which goes to something you said on the stage, which was, don't judge a decision by the outcome.
Right.
Make sure you had, because you can get unlucky.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Or you can get lucky, right? But the idea that there is such a thing as a good decision independent of the outcome.
100%. 100%.
And that's been one of the biggest frustrations for me in my career, is dealing with different decisions and opinions on a course of action based on not aligning on probabilities to things.
Right.
Right. And I'm curious, like, when you have different outcomes that are probabilistic, how does that weigh into the process?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I find is so important about this framework is, it's not to say, oh, if you open this restaurant and it fails, hey, we got made that's not our fault.
Yeah.
But if you're making that decision in a scientific way, you now have a playbook to go solve for that. And we talked about on this, the finger pointing, the CYA that happens, the blame game. We've all been part of the blame game, right? A restaurant opens, real estate blames operations blames the real estate, everyone blames marketing. And then the CYA starts to happen, where people become so defensive about their silo, and nobody actually wants to face the problems in the restaurant that can make it better. If you take a scientific approach, you would say, let's go back to our checklist and our assumptions. Are we actually getting the trade area and the traffic patterns that we are anticipating? Are we getting the average price point on our products that we're anticipating? Are we paying the effective labor that we had planned on? These are just objective data questions. No one needs to be defensive. And you'll start to see, check yes or no. And in those categories that are no, okay, now we can strategize around that. We can, as a team, we can solve for how do we get this back on track? So yes, there are these variables. It's more like, what are you doing to make sure that when that happens, it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy that spirals down to closure, but you have the tools.
It's like having the right tools can even protect your team, culture, dynamic relationships, because it prevents the CYA in the first place.
Exactly. And it's actually a mechanism to allow for grit. How many times do we hear grit this week?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, when people say, okay, you know so much about restaurants, what's the most important thing for success? I say grit. Grit is the most important aspect for success. Okay, if it was that easy, though, we'd all do it. Like, how?
Yeah.
How
Angela Duckworth could have been here selling books. She's done really well at this show.
Yeah, right. Like, how do we find grit? And it's like you said. I mean, grit is not just like picking yourself up, but it's having the tools to say, okay, let's solve for this.
How do I do better?
How do we do better? What
Yeah.
went wrong? What do we need to do?
Yeah, and risk mitigation is what it's all about. Sounds
Yes.
like, right? Like, how do you
Yes.
de-risk every situation as much as possible?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about the show a little bit, because it sounds like you're a student as well
Constant.
as a
Yes,
leader,
forever.
right? So what are some
Yes.
things that you learned here? What was the session you took in that gave you the aha moments?
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, I really enjoyed. I think I mentioned to you, Dr. James Pogue was on my my co-panelist,
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a badass. That's the
and
only
he's
way I can describe
great.
him. Yeah,
And
really.
and of course we approach things so differently, But he talked about, what is curiosity without courage? Well, you're just sitting there in the corner. Well, ask yourself questions.
Yeah.
What is courage without curiosity? Well, it's just arrogance.
Yeah.
So I love the story. I love some of the messages that he told. We also, Brittany sat in a panel on the other panel on decision making, and the way that they approached it of sort of like there's an emotional EQ side of questioning too that I think we all need to touch on. I really loved Greg yesterday was talking about as a leader, it's heart. Was it, he had those 3 points, right? It's heart, courage, and smarts,
Yes.
right? And so simplifying your own personal values of like, how do I show up as a leader? What are the 3 things that I want to hold dear?
Yeah.
And then you could say, how does that go into your decision making as well?
Well, they also mentioned, somebody was talking about, it's not the best book you've read
Yeah.
is the one that you actually took and put into practice.
Oh, yes.
And if we talk about the sessions here, what's something you're going to take back and put into practice for yourself?
Right. Yeah. I also loved the talks around AI. We talked a lot about AI as well.
Yeah.
And who's it? Andrew yesterday
Andrew, yeah.
was talking about AI as a way to mimic.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
And so I think
that
we
was
all,
awesome.
yes, it's awesome. I think we all think about AI as a way to help us save time,
Yep.
or let me, improve what I'm doing, instead of saying like, let me have more of me.
Yes.
To spread more of my message, or yes, help me improve my message, but not say it for me.
Yeah.
I might go make a doppelganger.
I think,
Yeah.
I think so too. Chad and I have been messing with this for a while, and it's something really fun, especially if you can prime the pump with how you write, emails you've sent,
Yeah.
things you've used before, and now it starts mimicking your speech, your patterns, and it comes across a little more authentic and allows you to free yourself up all the hours of time that you get back.
Right.
Are you using any of that stuff yet?
Yeah, I mean, we are unapologetic. Like,
Yeah.
love like the shame-o-meter, the synthetic shame-o-meter
No shame.
yesterday. But we're also very careful because we are thought leaders in our space. We want to be very careful
Yeah.
about, when we're producing content that we think is important for the industry, it is coming from me, my expertise, or one of my teammates with their expertise. But when it comes to, something that is just helping us be more efficient to give more time to our clients, no apologies,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Of
just
course.
have it build Framer. If somebody's doing coding and it can do 80% of the coding, so you can do
Yes.
the rest of the lattice work, that all makes sense,
Exactly,
right?
yes.
Drew was actually on just before you, and he was talking about McKinsey got themselves in a little bit of trouble because they passed off AI work as their own, and now they're in litigation over the whole thing.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
that is crazy. Like,
Wow,
yeah.
yes,
Law firms
yes.
have gotten in that. You've heard in the past that they've passed off AI's hallucinations as wrote, and now they've gotten in trouble as well. So the
Right.
wisdom has to layer in on that. There's another
100%.
session we had about intelligence versus the wisdom to apply it.
Right.
It sounds like you have a lot of wisdom and experience in what you're doing.
Right.
And I want to ask about that
Go ahead. Yeah.
because people. I mean, you've seen McKinsey overused AI
Yeah.
professionally. I get ribbed a lot for overusing it personally, both at work.
I call him Chad GPT.
And
Yeah.
the last serious conversation I had with my 12-year-old started with, "Dad, can you not use ChatGPT to talk to me about this thing I'm about to talk?" And you shared a humorous story about decision making at home. It's like, okay, do you have to resist overusing your decision making tools and processes at home or in other form of personal relationships?
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, guilty. It drives people crazy. Like, I will have somebody coming, to me with something that they feel very passionate, maybe emotional about, and and I break this down. Let's start with what you're really upset about. You know, like it's almost like it'd be like living with a therapist in some ways, right?
Tell me more about this.
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
But for the most part, I think it's more valuable than it is harmful.
Okay. Yeah.
Talking to somebody about yesterday in this conference about a decision they made, like I had to decide if I wanted to move to Dallas for family or New York for work. And I spent all this time trying to debate these two places. And I said, oh, I would have just asked you, put that aside for a second. What's your highest priority in your life right now?
Yeah.
And the answer was his family.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to spend all that time. That right?
Exactly.
You're welcome. I just helped for free. There you go.
Well, one of the old, sorry.
No, that's it.
One of the oldest decision-making tools I've known about is just the old Ben Franklin, right? You put one side, weigh one side versus the other, and you look at what the balance is there, right?
Well, that's like the pros cons. But the
Yeah.
problem is, if you go back to like, where should I live? What's the pros of living here? What's the cons of living here? Well, this one's actually more important than that one. So does this have the same weight
How do you weight
as
it?
these three? And I mean, it could be paralysis of analysis if
Yeah.
it's not framed properly.
Yeah.
If it's framed under, and I always tell people, if you're confused, like go up a step. Right? What's a question above that? Like frame it differently. Okay, if I'm asking this, what is the most important thing to me right now? Or what is the most important thing for our company right now?
Yeah.
If you're going into a new market, the most important thing is that location is getting your target consumer, it's sending the right message about your brand. That is more important than if you're hitting 24% sleepida or 20% sleepida, right? Because if you make that right decision, you can have 5 restaurants that do 24% sleepida.
Right.
So, I think the more experience we have allows us to ask better questions.
Absolutely.
That also doesn't mean that some of like our junior people or like fresh out of college people don't have to, can't ask the right questions or can't practice that leadership.
Right. You're a unique individual.
I think that's a compliment.
It absolutely,
I'll take it.
absolutely is. And I always try to think about almost that question up. Somebody somewhere taught you something.
Yeah.
Who was the mentor that brought you along the way? Or was there somebody put
Oh,
this in,
oh my
in
gosh.
you,
Yeah. I had all of my mentors were helping me craft this message of curiosity. My uncle Bill was a very successful person in my life as a mentor, and I asked him one day, I said, how were you so successful with your law firm?
Right.
And he said, well, the other side would come in and I would just ask them questions until they agreed with me and then they would leave.
Sometimes that happens, or they just break down. Like you ask enough questions, the truth eventually comes out.
Right. And it's like, it doesn't have to be badgering questions, but it's thoughtful.
Curiosity.
And it's that curiosity.
Yeah.
And I had another big mentor who was my high school teacher, who is now our corporate coach.
Get outta here.
Yes, he was.
That's awesome.
He was a stand-up comedian. He became a teacher, got into education. He worked with Apple, and he became a Buddhist monk.
Whoa.
Yes.
I love all of that.
I know.
I
You
love
should
all
have
of
him
that.
on
What's
your
his name?
podcast. His Michael McAllister. He's a corporate coach. And so he brings this Buddhist teachings to our team. And we literally have these sessions where he sits there and he asks us questions. And he asks me the right questions where I leave with so much clarity coming from this Buddhist teaching. Wow. So we surround ourselves with coaches who are practicing our brand. And
my mind
really
is blown on that. To be a fly on the wall in one of your meetings. Are you guys a EOS shop, or how do you run your company in that?
We have done some EOS, absolutely, but we try to live our brand as much as possible.
Sure.
What is our mission? What are the right questions? What are the questions we should be asking this week? And then we try to have our clients be that too. We want everyone to be a seeker.
Right.
So it's not just having our clients following our process, but ideally our clients are starting to change the way they're thinking around their teams and their business as well. You heard me tell the story about a client who said, I practice this at home with my spouse.
Yeah.
And, when I'm angry, if you have to figure out a question, man, does it take you away from those subjective, non-productive feelings.
Or
That's a
could be
very practical
accusatory, right?
thing.
Yes,
someone can do.
accusatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing this, the finger pointing. It says, oh, I have to ask a question. I have to be curious.
Why do you feel this way? Right?
Yes. Which also can make people mad, right? If they want to fight. If someone's looking for a fight, they won't
Well, you
appreciate
can't.
that.
Yeah, if a dust up's coming, it might. Yeah, but you try to diffuse the bomb whenever you can. Or sometimes it's that pause or halt.
That's right.
And
That's
then you
right.
can figure out what the question is to get there, or they come to their own realization.
That's right. And like I said yesterday or Tuesday, the question cannot be, why are you so stupid?
Oh my gosh,
Why are you being such an
dumbass.
It can't be a rhetorical question. Ashley, what's your favorite? You probably draw upon it often, right? What's your favorite bad decision in history?
Ooh. He always has the good questions.
ooh?
Could be commercial, it could be military,
Historical?
it could be political, whatever.
Okay, this is going to be really hard to pick just one. I'm
Okay.
really struggling with this.
Okay, then we don't have to call it your favorite.
Okay.
A bad decision you like.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay, I have some personal stories. I am in the process of writing a book. I'll keep those for
Okay.
the book that's coming out. But there was one that I didn't bring up on this in this week that I was going to talk about around indecision or making the wrong decisions. And this is most people I think will know about this, but I'm going to do it in the context of decision making, which is obviously Blockbuster
Oh,
in
We didn't go digital.
2000, right?
Yeah.
Blockbuster in 2000. Reed Hastings comes to one of the co-founders of Netflix and says, "I would like you to acquire Netflix for $50 million." And Blockbuster at the time was like, we don't believe in this internet thing. They probably had an executive team that was practicing a bias called groupthink that we all talk about.
Yeah.
They also were not forecasting forward. They understood that they owned the market today, and they didn't look forward to say, is internet going to change the way that people consume our project or
big to
our
fail.
product?
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they were apparently laughed out of the room. And obviously we know today, right? Netflix is worth
Yeah.
between 500 or $550 billion.
And there's a remote Blockbuster video in Wasilla, Alaska that's still operating.
Exactly. And we all know what happened to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So I think that if they had practiced the steps that we taught today and this week and really thought about, making the right decision by framing the right question, I would have said the right question is not, should we acquire Netflix? The right question is Blockbuster set up for success 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Or, and is Netflix better suited for the future?
Yeah.
Right.
Then they would have asked the right questions around, let's start gathering some input outside our four walls.
Yeah.
Let's start asking tech people, is the internet going to catch on, right? Is streaming going to become more popular? Should we insulate ourselves by acquiring the competitor who could take us out?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the applicability to AI, because every company's got to ask themselves that right now with that technology.
Yes, exactly. So I think if they had asked those questions, unfortunately I worked with Kona Grill right before they filed bankruptcy, and I have some really relevant stories there. I worked with Cold Otter Creek before they filed bankruptcy, and I know, and part of the reason I'm so passionate about what I do is if they had asked the right questions, if they had framed their decisions in a different way, they could have avoided that failure. So many people could have kept their jobs.
Yes.
And that's what drives me every day is this, this is simple. This is something everyone can do for free, just to think about these questions differently and have a major impact on our industry.
I think that's a fantastic moment just to segue to landing the plane. Really, you hit the nail on the head, which is if we make these decisions right, people keep their jobs, their revenue, their investments, their savings, all that happens. And if they don't, you could essentially lose everything, right?
Yeah.
So, Ashley, this has been eye-opening. I'd love to have you on again, drill more into what you do, talk more about your software. And being that you're on the speaking circuit out in the market, where can people see you next?
So our next conference will be at the Triple E conference. It's the Entertainment Evolution Experience put on by Frank Media.
Okay, where's that?
Or France Media, sorry. And it will be at Universal Studios in Los Angeles.
That's fun.
Awesome.
So our panel will be on AI, actually, and how AI is impacting the entertainment industry.
When is this? I'm gonna fly out.
Yeah, exactly. So this is in it's in February.
Okay.
And then right after that, we'll be going and hosting a panel at Whirl.
Okay.
And I know you're part of
Yep,
Whirl.
I am a Ken.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
You guys are great, Ken. and we're talking about financial acumen. This will be our second year that we're doing
that's
this
awesome.
panel, and around how you build valuations. So I know that these subjects feel very different from each other, but we approach it in a way where we say, how can you in the audience follow a simple process and ask the right questions to achieve that goal, either understanding AI and its impact or understanding how to build value in your company and trying just to make it approachable.
Love it. Love it. I love everything you talked about here, especially because it helps people stay in business, avoid that 90% failure rate.
Yes.
I mean, that's just, that's key.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing.
It's been delightful.
Thank you.
Just humbling to have people like you on our show. I mean, you're so intelligent, you're so bright, you have so much to offer to our industry. I'm just glad there's people like out there like you in the world making things better for everybody.
Thank you, and likewise.
100%.
Likewise.
Well,
Thanks, you guys.
everybody, this has been Ashley Robinson with Seeker. If you have questions for her, I think you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah,
You see
absolutely.
her around up there. And what's your website?
Theseekergroup.com.
Boom.
Yeah.
And you know where you can find her next. She just told you that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and land the plane. And as always, I like to close with random acts of kindness. Sprinkle that stuff everywhere like a topping on a cupcake. You never know whose day you're going to change. And selfishly, you kind of make yourself feel better too in the process. So for now, this is the ChatGTM signing off as our last show of the Prosper Accelerate Conference. And we did finish with the best for last. Thank you so much, Ashley, and everybody. Thank you for being part of our audience and part of our community, and let us being part of yours. And we'll see you next time.